Raptors lead wire to wire, taking down the Los Angeles Lakers 114-103. I'm Randy Urban, and this is Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, we're joined by Amy Audibert, Paul Jones, and Sherman Hamilton. Sherman, first things first, what went through your mind during that first quarter when the Raps had scored the Lakers 33-12?
Well, I thought Scotty was going to go off for 40 points in this game, the way he started this game. He just, he had it rolling, and, it was just kind of what we're used to seeing from Scotty, just taking charge and as a rookie being a leader in moments. And it's really impressive to see. But I also, got a feeling early of what Laker fans are enduring. It's just a flat, unenergetic, just a deflated performance to start the game. And you can hear it like in the building. It's probably that here we go again attitude for that Laker fan base. It was just, one of those things where you just feel bad for the fan base. But from a Raptors perspective, I just loved how they jumped all over them and really put their foot on their throat early in the game and let them know if you're going to make a comeback, you're going to have to push that rock way up the hill to come back in this game.
Mm-hmm. Amy, same question.
What I thought of the first quarter.
Yeah, just
they
the
came
start.
ready to go.
Like that was
it's
19-2. Like nobody looks at a score like that.
No, and it's a business mentality, especially coming off 2 wins, tough back-to-back. You get to LA, it would have been easy. And especially the Lakers got their tails kicked last night. So I was expecting them to come out a little bit more tough. But they just ran and they pounded it inside. They were dominating the paint. And you did kind of get that feel of, okay, like, let's get in, let's get a W, let's get out.
Yeah. Jones, you said something really interesting before we started here. I want you to repeat that.
It was an indictment on the Lakers.
Yeah.
You saw a team that were polar opposites. The paradoxical nature of both attitudes, Toronto's and LA, were evident. Sherman, Amy said it. The Raptors came out all business, jumped all over them. We play hard. We start the game playing hard. It's not that we're not going to make mistakes, but we're going to play as hard as we can for the entire 48 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers came out. Somebody tell them that the game actually started at 7:30. They were down 19-2. And then all of a sudden, they're down 20 points after 3 quarters. And now they're going to turn it on. Okay, come on, guys. We got to come back. Turn it on. And that does not work. I'm looking at 2 teams that are born out of their habits. The Raptors habitually play hard. The Lakers sporadically play hard. They try to turn it on. And this is what it's been all year with them. And they were good in the fourth quarter when they played hard, but you need to do that for a full 48 minutes. And LeBron at 37, Russ at they don't, and maybe they can't all the time. And Toronto comes away with the win. I was like Amy too. When they got drilled last night, I thought, oh man, Toronto's gonna have to work for it tomorrow. And they probably felt that way too, and that's why they came out like that.
Yeah. Sherman, were you a little bit nervous watching that fourth quarter or not?
Not at all. I mean,
No.
LeBron's great. We know how dominant he can be, but LeBron was going to need other players to make plays. And when you look around LeBron, these guys are struggling to do anything consistently. And even LeBron himself with this group is struggling to be consistent. So I wasn't concerned from a standpoint of the Lakers were just going to run down the Raptors and run over them. The Raptors play too hard, and I have a real confidence in Fred VanVleet being on the floor to figure things out. But I just think that they're wired to continue to fight. They're not a lay it down type of team. So I was never concerned that the Lakers were just going to run them over.
And
I will say this though, when you look at, no, go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I was just going to add on to your point, and credit to them for building a bed, right? Because then you have like the luxury to kind of take a deep breath and respond. And because they had such a nice lead, I was same thing, Sherm. I was not nervous. Someone was going to make a big play because that's what had happened up to that point, right? Even when the Lakers got it to like at times like 17, the crowd was into it. Somebody for the Raptors made a big shot or a big play, and it wasn't the same guy every time. That's all I was going to say there. Sorry, Sherm.
That's okay.
You want to finish, Sherm? What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that from a standpoint of the Lakers coming back, yeah, they can get some things done offensively, but there was never a concern that the Raptors weren't going to be able to find ways to score against that defense.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't good at all. And the Raptors were going to have, with Scotty going, with Pascal going, with Gary Trent Jr. going, they were going to find ways to put the ball in the basket. So I wasn't concerned with that comeback at all.
Randall, when you talk about it, and again, I'll go back to what I said off the start. The Lakers are like, okay, let's play hard. And the Raptors like, well, we play hard all the time. So if we're here and you're here and you step up to here to play hard, we're going to go to here. Like we're used to this. And you could see, like, to Sherm's point, the Lakers not on the same page. How many passes went out of bounds? Stanley Johnson throwing it to the corner, LeBron's cutting it to the basket. LeBron zips one into the corner between two guys. Somebody on the Raptor bench catches it. When you're not playing hard and things aren't clearly defined and roles aren't established, those are the struggles. And when you try to play hard, those mistakes of commission happen because nobody's used to doing it that way. And that's why, for me, I wasn't worried about any kind of a comeback.
And you guys mentioned the defense, Amy. LeBron's kind of just standing there watching Gary Trent Jr. out rebound him, and then clearly shoves him down, in my opinion, and gets frustrated at the ref. And then there was the other time where he's falling out of bounds, saves it, and throws it a little ridiculously hard at Scotty Barnes. Like, I get it. I get all that. But you could really see the frustration, and it looked a little bit cheap, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, and I hear what you're saying, but you know what I was more focused on was just the poise of the Raptors. They didn't let any of that stuff get to them. Like, they didn't respond to it. Listen, and I'm going to tell you something. Like, they let it, because I'm glad you said the R word. They out-rebounded the Lakers 64-43 tonight. And guess what? The shooting percentage from the field from both teams was about one off. So it wasn't that one team was missing all these shots. So, I mean, I'm sorry, Randy, you're not catching me tonight on it.
No,
all right.
Okay.
They just responded. They played tough, and yeah, they let their game do the talking. They're like, listen, we came out like that. You don't have to dive into it. And I mean, there is a respect. There is and I think Pascal did get fired up at the end, right?
For sure.
With the little shot, for sure he did. But there is a level of respect. And I think, especially, again, this place, for as poorly as the Lakers are this season, like, it was popping. It was packed. They were cheering. So do you really want to get into that here? No. You're on the road. Get in, get out. Get the W.
Sure, a little bit cheap or what?
Herb, you're always looking for the fluff. Herb, we're not going into the fluff
man.
conversation.
We're
not going there.
All right, Jonesy, help me out here.
I'll tell you where I will go.
Yeah.
To the point of the Lakers defense, I had a peek at their post-game show, and they've got Laker greats like James Worthy on their post-game, and they put the graphic up. Raptors 54 points in the paint. That like that killed Los Angeles. The Lakers have been allowing 52 points a game in the paint all year. So, like what? Like, oh, look, they scored all these points in the paint. Well, it's not like it's an anomaly. It's been happening all year. And the other things around their defense, the Raptors would get the ball to Siakam, he'd work his way into the paint, and he'd either score or kick it out for an open shot. They couldn't handle him off the dribble. Even with switches, they had the wrong guy on them. The Raptors they sniffed out Austin Reeves early. They just their attack was airtight.
Yeah.
And to Sherm's point about the Lakers defense, it's not real great. It's not real great.
Well, they sniffed out Carmelo Anthony too, and they started to get him in screen and rolls and attack him. But I will say,
he looks like a statue.
I will say this though. That Lakers defense is porous, but you don't have Anthony Davis in the game. And Anthony Davis is a difference maker on the glass and on the defensive side of the basketball. He might not make them a great defensive team, but he makes them better and significantly better. So they're missing a key cog. Then, no Dwight Howard as well. So they're just things that are happening on their front line or in their last line of defense that they just don't have. And, they're a bad defensive team without those guys there, but they would be a bit better, I believe, with an Anthony Davis on that back line.
Mm-hmm. Amy, in terms of the Raptors defense, I thought they did a great job of defending at the rim. You know, there were times when LA had the ball pretty deep and I'm like, okay, this is either going to be a foul or a bucket. And it was neither of those things. And those types of plays are what allow you to go up 20, 24, 26, 28.
Yeah, I think it was another case of just length overwhelming. And sometimes you don't have to block the shot, you can just change it. Or, you know, especially it was at the end of the first half, there was a really nice defensive possession and it was a pick and roll between Fred and Pascal. They were defending it and it was a bit of a scramble. I think they got switched up, they recovered and they got a block. They're just in tune with each other, right? These two guys have been playing a couple seasons together. So yeah, it was really nice to see. And I mean, that's their bread and butter, right? Defense to offense. And that's why they got a lot of paint touches, I thought, because they were in transition. And to their credit, even though they were drilling them inside, they didn't fall in love with the three. They still had fewer attempts from long range than the Lakers did. So they stayed disciplined and executed the game plan.
Jonesy, Pascal's in a real nice stretch right now.
He is. Man, he's a tough cover. He is a real tough cover right now, just with his ball handling and his craftiness. He's once he gets into the lane, you know, cancel Christmas. Like he's something's going to happen good for the Raptors. I mean, tonight a couple times they tried to jump on his right. He wanted to go right. He got cut off. He wanted to go right. They cut it off. Boom, he spins back left. Suddenly he's below the broken dot, the broken circle, and he's getting layups. Or now they'll just back off him and he'll get close enough and he makes a 12-footer. Or he gets into the lane and he kicks it out and Gary Trent is able to line up the seams on the ball to take a three. So he's just a tough cover right now, Randall. And there's a confidence to Pascal's game that's really kind of buoying him forward with his ball handling.
Sure. Is this the most dangerous you've seen the Raptors? I know they're missing OG, but do you feel like they're at their peak right now for the season?
Well, with what they have, I think they're really rounding to top form. You know, listen, everybody has to go through injuries. Everybody went through COVID issues. That's just a part of what this season was about. Having said that, when the Raptors have been relatively healthy, they've been a problem for everybody that they've played against. The biggest thing is they're not just relying on Freddie VanVleet to play a great game. They're not just relying on Pascal to play a great game. Scotty Barnes is getting it done. Gary Trent Jr. is getting alive again. You know, they're getting, I mean, the last game against the Denver Nuggets, their bench performance was excellent. So they're getting contributions from up and down through this roster. And to me, now we're finally seeing the depth of this team and seeing what they can do, even without OG on the floor. So, and that takes them to another step when OG's in the game. So they're really a good team. But more importantly, to what everybody's been talking about tonight, there's a consistency to what they do. There's habitual things that they do that with their skill set and their diversity on the roster, they're always going to be a tough out. And that to me is what gives them the benefit, because teams up and down, when they play up and down, the Raptors play straight and they're going to come at you hard every game. And that to me is a difference maker on most nights for this team when they're healthy.
All right, guys, going to stop you there. Amy, I just for the record, I know you weren't one of those players that when you're saving the ball out of bounds, you try to put it through another person's abdomen. You know, I know you weren't one of those players.
Randy, I could not jump high enough to do that. Are you kidding me?
Come on.
I wouldn't even attempt the live ball turnover. Just get back, run to the paint, and hit anyone that comes in the paint. That's all. Right. That was it.
Okay, I agree. All right. Next game for the Raptors, Wednesday night, still in LA, this time against the Clippers. They'll do it at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will see you after that.